I'm Brian Henderson. This is News Centre 9.
Brian Henderson is the benchmark.
Hi, and welcome to a very special edition of Bandstand.
From the Gold Logie winning host of Bandstand,
Brian Henderson.
I'm astonished. Thank you so much.
to Australia's longest serving television news presenter.
Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. This is Brian Henderson. Good night.
As the face of Sydney's 6 p.m. news, the way it is became the way of life.
I know everything I need to know, 'cause Brian told me so.
Night after night, for 46 years, he was invited into lounge rooms.
Now, the crisis in the Persian Gulf, thousands believed to be dead as terrorists strike at the heart of the United States. Kathy Freeman thanks Australia for helping her make history.
A professional, a perfectionist, Brian saw what he did as an absolute privilege. He didn't speak to the audience, he spoke for them. Believable, trusted, unflappable.
We're in the dark, but I'll continue. Put another shilling in the meter and then come back.
And always modest, even entering TV's Hall of Fame.
The way it is, this Sunday, the 7th of April, I'm Brian Henderson. Good night.
A family man, the only thing longer than his career, his marriage to Marty. From a founding father of Australian television news to its most loyal viewer in retirement.
This is Brian Henderson, a sad Brian Henderson, saying not good night this time, but goodbye.
From everyone, Hendo, thank you.
Keep that up, and you'll never make the Barmy Army. I seem to have spent most of my allotted speech time just shuffling up here. Maybe you got me just in time. After all that build-up, Peter, just as well I've not been given a hat. It would never have fitted. Ken Sutcliffe, the unofficial mayor of Mudgee, has not made it. We were told he may not because of wind problems. Funny. You're ahead of me. I sat next to him all those years and never noticed a thing. Here we are at Royal Randwick Racecourse, where I spent many a happy day. Well, I was happy when I arrived. Now I seem to have gone in the hocks. Many congratulations to tonight's Kennedy Award winners. All well-deserved, I'm sure. What a lot of talent he is. Terrific. My love of words began when I was brought up in a very small country pub with a bookcase containing a variety of reading material. I was very much on my own, apart from a dog and a ferret. That was back in the 40s. I did have a friend, but he wasn't much company. His name was Nutty. I don't read anything into that. Anyhow, I read everything from 39 Steps to P.G. Wodehouse, and even my sister's books, like Anne of Green Gables. Now, she was a wild one. Most recently, I've read the first book by a 3-time winner of the Kennedy Excellence Awards. It's a brilliant creative effort by Trent Dalton called Boy Swallows Universe. Yeah. You'll have to read it to find out if he actually does. We were very insecure in those early days, and Chuck Faulkner, who was presenting the main bulletin, and I, would watch auditions anxiously from the sidelines. We were so sure that someone would stand out and we'd both be jobless. Actually, he was demoted to doing the weather when Frank Packer discovered he was going to stand for Labor. Mr. Packer didn't even like us wearing a red tie. A lot of my early years after I was given the main bulletin were presided over by the legendary Mike Ramsden. He was the man behind the first TV news in Australia. He was also a devoted and highly successful yachtsman. Some of you may recall his commentaries on the Sydney to Hobart race. He was also a dedicated practical joker. God, they can be annoying. Anyway, he got his comeuppance when we jammed a potato up his exhaust pipe. It works, try it. I'm often asked what it was like working for the Packers. Well, way back in the very early days, I broached the subject of a raise with Frank Packer, as he was then. Raise, he said. You want a raise? I put you on my TV station, I've made you famous. Isn't that enough? As far as I know, he didn't interfere with news content, as far as I know. Kerry loved TV, especially sport and news. The only disagreement I ever had with Kerry was about moving the news from 6:30 back to 6 o'clock. I felt that the available audience would shrink with not as many people home yet. It was moved, of course it was, and far from suffering, it flourished. A fact he continually reminded me of in years to come. Don't you hate people who gloat? James is a very likeable man of extraordinary talent, and I hope he finds his way through his present problems. About 2 hours before news time, I loved working with first Jeff Maurice, then Mary Davidson, polishing the intros, asking questions about stories and jumping on clumsy copy. The main news was pretty serious stuff, but brightened by the occasional gem of a Paul Keating put-down. Who can forget? I'll come over there and I'll do you slowly. I would sometimes ask the writers of the news to remember my mantra, which was, clever is good, but clear is best. Recently, while listening to Macca on the ABC, a listener was asked about the weather, and she replied, the sun has just elbowed its way through the clouds, thereby achieving both clever and clear. On the other hand, the dreaded cliches. Pick your favourite out of these. Avoided like the plague. Even hardened officers were shocked. Christmas came early for. But the all-time winner is all hell broke loose. So, to a book written by Mike Carlton, in which he wrote, the smartest thing Hendo ever did was to marry Marty. Damn right, 53 years right. Marty, yes. Marty always wanted 2 daughters, and sure enough, we begat 2 lovely girls, Nicole and Jodie. Begat is an interesting expression. It seems to mean something like highly enjoyable. I wouldn't know, my memory's not that good. The Lifetime Achievement Award is the net result of a team of workers, a large team. I had the responsibility of presenting their combined efforts. I thought, after 17 years of retirement, that I would be all but forgotten. So imagine my surprise when I was told about tonight's award. I am honoured and I am flattered. After 47 years in a job that I loved doing, which gave me so much, to be acknowledged in this way tops it all off. The way it is, Friday, the 9th of August. This is Brian Henderson. Good night. By the way, I never did say who wrote this shit. Just truly.